It's not the case. If there's something that he needs to hear from you, wouldn't you like to know what that is?
I sure would, Dr. Phil. As a matter of fact, I'll go one better than that. If my son wants me to hear me say, I shot your mother twice, I'll say it because I did. Yes, I took her life. I destroyed my life. I destroyed her life. I destroyed my son's life. I'm guilty of all that. I take complete responsibility for everything. I have carried this with me all my life. But at the same time, Dr. Phil, I feel that I have been forgiven by a higher being, and we all stand in judgment. I mean, what more can I say?
You say you take accountability for this, but you say this was an accident. And Butch, you say you heard him say he was going to kill her, and I don't get shooting somebody in the head twice as an accident. You need him to own this. That's the problem, is he's not owning this, right?
That is absolutely the problem, Dr. Phil. The 12-year-old boy that I was still lives inside of me. And that 12-year-old boy still goes back to that same place where his mother was every day. And it's that place where I heard my father say, if you try to leave, I'll kill you. I've gone through court documents, Dr. Phil, and I see where my father said that he never said that. Dr. Phil, the day that my mother was killed, I lifted my mother's head and I put a pillow underneath my mother's head. My father told the court that he put that pillow under my mother's head. My father said that he never said that he would kill my mother. I hope you're hearing me well. After my father shot my mother, he came into the room and looked at both my brother and I, and he said, Butch, Keith, I'm sorry. I had to do it. She was going to leave me. The court documents say, Butch, Keith, I'm sorry. I had to take the gun away from her again. The 12-year-old remembers very well, and I won't be insulted by a man who keeps saying that it was an accident.
Ulysses?
Yes.
What did you want to say to what Butch has commented?
I'm going to agree with everything he said. I totally agree with it. And that's all I can say. The night of that incident, Clarice was drunk. She was
Man,
high.
it's so hard for me to listen to you insult my mother that way. It is extremely hard for me to listen to you insult my mother that way. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Don't you dare say my mother was drunk.
Dr. Phil.
Don't you dare say my mother was drunk.
Dr. Phil.
The police report specified that both you and she showed no signs of being drunk.
Butch, how's your sister? How's she taking this now? Has she done anything similar to what you're doing? How does she cope with it, even though you said for some time she felt she should have been there?
She's had her she's had her struggles. She's doing well now.
Your younger brother?
He's doing well.
Now, did you have to help both of them in any way? Was it that, somewhat the Lord blessed you to whenever you had to comfort the both of them and help them through their healing, even though they had to do it on their own also?
They had their own relation system, so to speak. They had people close to them that helped them work through it. But again, both of them today are doing well. They've had their struggles, but they're doing well.
Where was this interview in the timeline as far as your father coming here in 2012? And was this before that, after that? Where did that fall?
The Dr. Phil interview?
Yes.
That was January 19th. That was January 19th, 2011. So that was exactly a month after I saw him for the first time in 20 years. Okay. I saw him on December the 19th, 2010. We wound up on that show January 19th, 2011. I went to see him on June 25th by myself when we went to the gravesite, 2011, June 25th. And then he flew to Philadelphia, February 2012.
So the discrepancies between what was said to you and your brother that night, what happened with the pillow that night, did he ever apologize?
Yes. Yes, he did. One of the things that made the estrangement difficult for him was that he never had to deal with me. My being away from him, I was one of the only people who could get him to really look at what he had done. He used to always say to me that he had paid his debt to society. He had served his time. And my issue was that generally speaking, your issue is really with me and my brother and my sister. You can talk about society all you want, but there are people who could give a damn about you. We cared about you. We are your children. And so coming clean with us was what was important. And gradually he began to do that in a big way. I mean, I could feel his pain. I really could. It was almost like he was asking for somebody to free me from this. And over that period of time, he was able to let go.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, like when I went through my trauma, I had to relate to that every anniversary of the trauma. So I could see what you're going through is intense also. But I want to say I'm glad the Lord blessed you to the point where, one, you didn't take your own life. You said something covered you where you didn't take his life. And you raising your family where other people would have went to drugs, murder, committing things in the street. And like you said, he left you here for a reason. And I'm proud to know you. And I'm glad you're here to touch so many people to help them to see there's alternative ways of dealing with it, as hard as it might be. But
Yeah.
I think you're a cornerstone of doing that.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things, sometimes people talk about the ways that people respond to what we refer to as trauma. And I'd like to say that sometimes our behavior is more insidious than it is obvious, meaning sometimes it's not about addictions like alcohol and drugs, and sometimes it's not repeat trauma. It's not that. It's the other stuff that lives within us that still compromises our full humanness. And I was addicted to some of that stuff. I was addicted to those memories. I was addicted to certain behaviors that compromised me as a father. And people should be concerned about that. Sometimes it doesn't show up so obviously.
Well, Ulysses, we're just about out of time, so we want to make sure people know how to get this book. Can you talk about your website?
Absolutely. It's UlyssesButchSlaughter.com. You can get the book Forgive, the new mantra and practice for black men. It's actually reflections about my relationships and my understanding of the way black men talked to me about it. But it's also a practical tool that people can look at and do some work with.
And there's information on where people can see you speak on your website as well?
Absolutely. You can go to UlyssesButchSlaughter.com and you can get my speaking. Send me an email. If you want to ask me something directly, send me an email. I'd be happy to respond with just about any question.
Always a pleasure, and you're always welcome back.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to following every single thing that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you both.
At home, we're going to ask you to stay tuned for the Congo Hour. We will not see you next week. We will be at the play. Darius Brown will be on with A Better Wilmington. So we'll see you at the beginning of February. Everyone, God bless, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night. Thank you to all of our guests.